Too many choices. Where do we even start with that one? So I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, but that song, to me, that's a classic example of a song that started with a riff, right? That beginning riff. And it's played in a particular way. I think that the way it's played is important to the way the listener hears the sound of that song, of that riff. And so it's meant to be really big. It's meant to be like a sledgehammer, the way the thing comes across. And not in some sort of, heavy metal way. I don't mean it that way, but I mean just the tonality of it, the rhythm of it, the grind factor of the whole thing is really meant to be just this really compelling thing, this compelling piece of music. And then there's this relief during the chorus, right? Because it slows down. It's not this driving thing and so forth. And it's the chorus notes are played on different strings in a different part of the neck. And so the tonality of it's really different. And it's one of those things, in my view, it just came together. And those are sort of really disparate parts that put together, I think, just work. And so going for it, and then you've got the lick piece of it, and now you want to say to yourself, all right, how do I capture the big sound?
Right.
And it's got this Les Paul Marshall amp flavor to it. I think we got it. I think we did all right on that. But there's a bunch of guitars going on behind the main riff to sort of thicken it up, if you will, of different Les Pauls.
How do you capture that big sound?
Well, the tricky piece of all of this is that you want to be sure that the listener doesn't think that there is an arsenal or an army of guitar players going on, because it's just me.
Right.
I'm the only guitar player. You've got to play these thickening guitars in a manner that's right on the money with the core rhythm riff of this thing. But when you get that right, now all of a sudden, the thickness of that sound and where it's positioned in the stereo field really can contribute to making the impact that the listener experiences, which is what it's all about. It's about that impact.
Now, you talked a lot about the impact, and we mentioned like the energy of the song, but you also mentioned the kind of the relief after that big wall of energy. Was that the original plan, is to kind of slam you with a wall of energy and then to scale it back, or did that evolve?
First of all, you give me way too much credit, right? Having the plan. If you think about it, the song started with this riff, the sledgehammer riff, okay? And then it's sort of, okay, well, what do you do with that? Where does it go? And this notion of, I don't want to be beaten with a sledgehammer for the whole song, right? That's just, that's just too much pain. And the song needs to evolve. It needs to go somewhere. And so coming up with this second riff, if you will, that became the chorus of the song. Yeah, and is this practice piece of it, this discipline piece, working it. And I came up with that chorus piece separately. It wasn't attached to the beginning riff. But then the light bulb went off and, hey, these will work together. And they do. And then there's sort of the wind down out of that chorus, right, that brings you right back to the riff again, which is what you want,
We've established a couple of the pieces that have come together on this song. Were there any other like major noticeable puzzle pieces that fell together that really complete this picture? But, metaphysical picture because it's physically a song.
Yeah, well, think of the backing vocals in the chorus, right? Frankie does such a nice job with those backing vocals, and it adds that a different dimension that you don't think of. Sorry, Frank. They're pretty, right?
Right.
And so pretty and sledgehammer, like, how does that work? But it works, I think that's an example of something that just added more dimension. The guitar lead was something that I spent a lot of time on. I wanted something that was very tonally different than the rest of the song. I didn't want it to sound like the beginning riff or the chorus. And so working on coming up with something like that and to add a new dimension to the song was really important to me. And I hope it lands. I hope the listener really likes it, And I think we talked a few minutes ago about the fact that the piece underneath the guitar lead is different. It's nothing like anything else in the song, and it's only used during the lead. And then when it's gone, when the lead's over, that part disappears. And the lead does play throughout the ending there. But that was really important to come up with a different tone.
Now for the music video, it's Chris, right, who's playing the second
Chris.
guitar?
Yeah. He's playing the bass.
Yeah, playing the bass. Do you play the bass guitar in the song, or do you just play all the different variations of the guitar?
Yeah, I just play the guitar. I let the bass player play the bass. I own a bass, so I'm looking at it, but that's not my strength, and I don't aspire to be a bass player. These guys are much better bass players than I am, and I want their magic on that song, and they brought it. They brought the game.
But every variation and rendition of the actual guitar in the song is always you, right?
It's always me. Yep. On every song of mine, I'm the only guitar player on this.
So for Too Many Choices, how many guitar lines did you play for that one?
Well, like take the chorus, for example. There's electric guitars going and there's acoustic guitars going on underneath it. And you don't hear them. If they weren't there, you would notice something missing.
Right.
So there's a bunch of stuff going on in that spot, and it's designed to create the oral impression that we were going for while the sledgehammer was gone, right?
Right.
We didn't want the song to sort of fall out and feel like it was empty, and so we needed to make sure that it was still very present and purposeful during that part, and we achieved that, I think, with the choices of guitars we used.
So basically filling out kind of like the tone and the volume and the ambience of the song.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Are there any of those pieces in the backdrop, these little building blocks you put together to create the whole, which is greater than the sum of its parts, that you're really proud of or really happy with how they came out? Like maybe someone would have to have a trained ear or really listen for it specifically, but that just really came together and you're really happy with how they fell in place.
I don't mean to be a smartass, but I like it all. And every note that's played on this song was intentional. It was thought through. It was purposeful. And we put a lot of effort in trying to create the sonic landscape that this song is. And I hope the listener really enjoys it because it's meant to be just a truckload of fun. You know, its song moves, right? It's moving.
Do you have a specific moment in the song that you feel brings you the most, like, musical catharsis?
The song starts out with musical catharsis for me, right?
Exactly.
So just the very beginning of this thing with this freight train running down the track,
right?
It's just so much fun. That starting riff has got this sort of, it's not all in a major key flavor. It's got a little bit of a tinge of a minor stuff to it. But then the chorus comes in and it sort of rejuvenates, it restores, right? It's more joyful, it's happier. That juxtaposition, I think, just is really kind of neat. And then the chorus kind of goes down a walk down to bring you right back down to the beginning riff again, and it just works. And there's a silence, there's a break, right, where the music stops. It's just empty space, and then bam, sledgehammer, right?
It definitely sounds like something that you'd be like banging on your dashboard driving down the interstate too.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's a headbanger, right? You tap your feet, right? Hopefully dance to it, have fun. It's get up and go.
Shake off the voices.